show.
Let's start with the intro.
Okay.
Why are we here?
Yeah, why are we here? How shall we start, Aleksei? How shall we talk about how we met each other?
Well, maybe what's your name first?
I am Sinem Tuncer, 38 years old. Actually, I can already say 39 because 10 November, it's my birthday.
Hey, happy
What's
birthday.
your name? What's your name?
I'm Aleksei. I do computers.
You do computers.
No.
Do computers do you?
Okay, this is not that type of podcast. Stay professional. No, that's not fair. But yeah, so in my head there is this ideal company where everything works well. And of course in my imagination, that's how it is. And this was the part where we cut it out, right? Me thinking about it. Really, at some point I decided that the only way to make it right is to make it yourself, which is very, what's the word? Not selfish, but like, of course in my imagination everything works well. And I also would love to work on something that has a connection to physical world and makes whoever uses this lives of those people a little bit better.
So little recap is actually I work for so many shitty companies and startups, and even the bigger ones were not doing what I wanted, and it was a constant disappointment. So at some moment I thought, F it all, I'm just going to do this thing by myself. And that's when we met. I remember that we met via a mutual friend, Jitske. Hey Jits, if you're looking at this podcast at the moment, or at the moment, it will be recorded later. But that's how we met, and it was in a time. But what was a reality is that compliancy in the EV sector for Europe was very much important, and they need to put digital product passports. And in that time, I needed somebody, while I was working on that case, somebody that will pay my rent, to be fair, because I was going to Germany. And that's the moment via Aleksei and Jitske, he was looking for a place, and he took my place in Amsterdam at the moment. And at that time, we started actually talking about how shitty companies were. I mean, I think this is really our first chats about business and how we met each other, and yeah, that shitty negativity part that we hated about it's allowed us to talk about business. I think it evolved.
I'm the person who get very invested, and it's my baby what I'm making, and it's not always a good match. So I thought I'll find a person with a good idea, because I cannot start from an empty paper, but I'm good at executing when there is something already that's meaningful and thought through, at least at the conceptual level. So I was hoping to find a company that would be meaningful, but also treat its people fairly, but also where I can contribute.
So you really care about people and being in an innovational, like tech for good. What can I say? It's quite a popular hashtag at the moment, tech for good. So you care about tech for good, and you were actually a little bit done that people are not socially responsible to their people in companies.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, Arkive. Let me quickly introduce myself too. I am Sinem Tuncer, born and raised in the Netherlands. I started working in mainly inventory teams in corporate environments, noticing that I hate corporate environments in very early days. You always need to be specialist, you always need to be very serious, and if you want to change something, you need to ask 500 people, and if you're lucky, you are allowed to change something. 11 years to work for tech, and actually in the last 6 years really to work on sustainability topics, where I started doing LCAs, life cycle assessments, in Excel for companies. And why did I do that? Because I really believe in data-driven decision making on sustainability. For example, you hear a lot about people that they are really confused about recycling, waste management, statements on products, which is greenwashing. And at the same time, when I listen to the sustainability managers in organizations making random decisions, and you probably notice it with tech too, for example, we are going local, but then the prices are higher when you go local, or are the raw materials there available? So you cannot just scream something and then make it a reality. And those things were maybe pissing me off even. And that's when I kind of like started the journey, let's say fighting waste, or really fighting a solution, finding a solution for it. I really care for equality of people and a fair world. And what's really pissing me off about waste is, in a world of scarcity where products contain 60% water to make it cheap, we at the same time have a shortage of water. The world is maybe very blue, but we can only drink 2%. In the last 26 years, it has been decreased to 1.4%. And that means that in this lifetime, we will experience severe shortages in water. And for me, the behavior of communicating about sustainability as an organization, but doing exactly the opposite, which is a risk on humanity, people and plants and animals on this world, it just really makes me angry. And my back...
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't really have like a... I'm just excited that this project is really meaningful. Right, and what you mentioned, where you go to a store, or it used to be at least, and it just says green and it means nothing, or natural. It's just kind of exploiting people's psychology to try to sell them stuff.
I'm curious about your thoughts. For example, sustainability, when we would start deep diving about this problem a little bit. Like, sustainability, in my opinion, could be a very big topic. What is the definition of sustainability, for example, for you mean? Like, what do you hear?
Hey, whatever you're doing, however you're doing it, it's self-sufficient, it's enough, it's not making things worse down the line. Maybe just that.
Maybe the cliche people, planet, profit, I hear actually from you.
3 Ps.
The 3 Ps. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if it's not profitable, for example, would a company do it?
Unlikely.
Unlikely, right?
Unlikely.
Yeah, and maybe as an employee, you're like, why? Why do they do this, right? It pisses you off maybe too.
Well, that's a little bit of a... where if you just want money, right, you just make decisions that make you more money no matter everything else. So it's also on people to voice their concerns, on government to regulate that, to kind of steer society as a whole, I guess.
Yeah.
You can see it if you just, like, if you go to a store 2 years ago, there is like one soy sandwich that's vegan option, whatever, and it's just like there, and it's very sad and alone. And now you go in, there's like 3 shelves of organic, of vegetarian, of bio, on no non-cruelty free range. So people in society are turning towards.
Yeah. Well, the definition of tree hugger, I mean, back in the days, you were a tree hugger if you were a vegetarian.
Oh, it's
now
like
you're
nice,
just,
go hug
now
a
you're
tree.
a loser. Now it's like, go home or don't even call. You're not a tree hugger, you cannot sit at this table. This is how it is at the moment.
Yeah, well, trees have a very nice texture, so touching a tree, yeah.
Although there's also an opposite at the moment, right? Because we have the Trumps of the world who are screaming that climate change is not existing. And then, for example, yeah, you probably don't watch the Dutch news, but we have this woman called Liedewij at the moment who is a lot in the news and people saying that climate change doesn't exist and that we should stop investing our money in climate change in the Netherlands, for example. So there is a movement of people, what I'm trying to say, that is pushing it down. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think that current situation economically is not very good, or prices are high, real estate is crazy, you cannot afford a house. And then as a politician, it's very convenient to say, oh my god, look at this problem, that's not real. If we just elect me, I will find the money. So like unite people. So I don't really believe that it's always informed opinion that is actually true. I think it's a tool to get people to vote for you.
Yeah, that's
but then
true.
You go
Actually, we use it, which means we go to the supermarket, we drink it, and then there is a deposit money. So actually Coca-Cola has thought about waste management, and they said we really need to get our bottles back, and we do it again. So there is positive things about Coca-Cola. But yeah, it can also be that you didn't drink it, that you didn't use it, and then it goes in full to the recycle companies. And that means it's most of the times being destroyed. And if we are lucky, we are able to buy it at the auction. All these steps are not done by Coca-Cola itself. These are all done in partnership strategies, for example, at the moment. And that means they have a different financial P&L model, and they are all trying to bring the CO2 down by themselves, which is not possible because a cola, it's very complicated to measure one from the beginning to the end, and on all levels there is waste. And that means you buy ingredients, but if you didn't use them, there's waste. You produce a lot of products, but if you could not sell it, you produced it for nothing. You are storing everything in a warehouse using energy and CO2, but it means that if you could not sell it, again, you are creating waste in your warehouse. You're using energy that is unused. If you distribute it to the stores just to make the store full because it looks more sexy, it means 40% of your stocks on retail level is just made for us to make it fun looking. And all these things are creating waste and CO2, which the companies are also paying for. And at the end of the ride, when we go to the retail store, we pay for that. We pay for the CO2 and the cost price that the waste is created from beginning to the end. And the benefit of waste is financially not great, not for the brands not, but definitely not for us, and that's why prices are also increasing. And at the same time, what is happening is the ingredients like water is becoming a shortage, which we are wasting across this supply chain. So yeah, this is, I believe, actually in sustainability for me the biggest problem. And that's why I decided to work on to look at the problem of waste, because it also plays cruelty. And we love Toby. Imagine there was used child labor. So all the products that you overproduced, you did it, and then you said, sorry, oopsie, I could not sell it at the moment. And that's actually not fair against the world, I think. How can it be that the world is becoming constantly more efficient, like everything is faster and better and cheaper, but at the same time there is still, let's say, waste, and the prices are still increasing? How can it be?
Capitalism?
Yeah.
No, for me it is also, so the big example that it used to be that to have a computer you need to pay like thousands and thousands of euros, right? And then you get a room full of shelves, right? And only if you're a huge university you can afford it, right? And now we have in our pocket a supercomputer compared to 20, 30 years ago. And if you buy, I don't know, a microphone, like it costs like 10, 20 euros. You can get a very cheap, normal sounding microphone for so cheap, and inside of it is like probably 3 computers, right? Or I don't know, people selling vapes, and there is like a 5 euro computer in each of them that like just does something like put pretty colors on, and that's one-off item. So somehow we live in an amazing world where we went from supercomputers for hundreds of $1,000s, and it's like 3-year process to set it up, to making something so amazing and incredible for so cheap to that we can just put it in every microwave in the world, but also we throw it away after. So there is a line up with how amazing it is, but also a line down with how crazy this pile of electronics.
E-waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that is growing. I was looking at the numbers, by the way, also from waste in Europe, and this was growing. For example, we talk a lot about refugees coming, that this is the biggest problem. We talk about the living markets because of that also. But then my question is also, why do we have 220,000 houses unoccupied in the Netherlands? Like, why? That's a part of waste, right? And that's capitalism, what you just mentioned, seems to be part of it too, because the 80% of those houses was owned by a few companies. So then the question is, isn't waste actually the biggest problem almost in the world, which also is causing that we are fighting with each other about it, so to say, about finances, but the core problem is a shortage somehow and not using it efficiently. I sometimes really think about those things, and what's also really making me sad, for example, when you look at Ukraine, and there are a lot of African countries that are also still in wars, Palestina, and I apologize for all the people if I say something that I didn't mention their wars, because there are just many in the world. But when you also really look at it, what they are fighting about is it's power and land. And why do we want more land? Why do we need more people in our country? If they do not work, if they do not give the raw materials where you want to have it, I mean, that's also what we are fighting for at the moment in the core. So more people means more taxes being paid. So the top again is growing a little bit more about that too. That's why the GPT in Americas is so great, and the innovational tech companies over there are so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think so.
Debatable.
But that's where their GDP is coming from having a lot of people and having a lot of tech companies and not a lot of operational costs, because that was all in China. The CO2 was coming from there, but my headquarters was there.
No, for a while, right? It worked really well.
Yeah. I do believe that for a while it was Ottoman Empire, where we were not great as Turkish people. We were just like getting more land. We were all over the place, and we said a few times sorry, but also not really. So it's not okay. So at a certain moment Ataturk came, and actually multiple leaders in the world were doing it. That's when borders started really to play. They said, okay, done, we are just killing people, we're just taking land, stop it now. And we are going to take this border, and this is going to be Turkey. And this also happened to other countries. And they made this agreement with each other. But then we were economically all growing as countries. We were less fighting with each other. The cultures were within the borders. But then what happened? The trade wars started. Bananas are from Brazil. If you want to eat it in the Netherlands too, you need to pay 100%. But I like this guy, so for you it's 50%. And for you these are obviously numbers that do not make sense. But then instead of the regular war of having land, the trade war started. And I feel sustainability is actually today failing again because of that decision from back in the days. I think it worked for them, but now we are much smarter, and now we need to learn how to work with each other without killing each other, maybe. Something like this, and knowing how to share stuff with each other.
That would be nice, eh?
That would be nice, eh? I need to think about these beauty pageants from back in the days when these pretty girls were saying, all I want for the world is world peace.
Was it now?
I mean, I still believe in it too, but I just think there's a lot of evil to fight still in the world. Money is a part of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the person would come to the world and would say, okay, I want to solve the problem of waste across all the industries. For me, it doesn't matter at the moment. Which solutions could there be to solve it?
Well, don't really have a good answer, but like with every problem, right, first you need to understand what is the problem, why it is there.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to have good data about what's happening, where is waste coming from. So your expertise, your background with logistics, right? That's, I would imagine, would be primary first target. I guess new processes, less wasteful manufacturing. Can we make this rubber differently? How can we have more efficient factories? Yeah, that's a very
Just
I'm not
to
the person to
give you a little, for example, what I looked at in the beginning, traditional methods, recyclers, and you have outlets, for example. Along the journey, I also found out traders is a strategy for a lot of companies. So, for example, I produce 100, I distribute my 80, I could not sell the 20. I have this guy from China, I'm like, hey, you have a few stores there, right? Offline outlets. Can you buy all of this for a very cheap price? Poof. And then it goes there. But all these things, would you come up with something more innovative, for example, than that?
Well, the first question, why did you make 100 when you only can sell 80, right? Maybe you should have made 90.
She was an investment manager, and she really helped me look at all the year reports, for example, from L'Oreal, Estee Lauder. And the reality is, by standard, they produce 130% each year.
Why?
The question is, we can ask it. I looked at it, and the world population is not growing yearly with 30%. And we also have vergrijzing, that people are aging.
Yeah, and the same with returns. That's like, I guess, a infamous fact where if you just order 3 pairs of jeans online, right, to see which size fits you best, and then you return 2, they just throw it away because it's actually more expensive to like repackage it.
Yeah. What I realized also was really that, for example, I started with solving it slightly with the marketplace to collect data, like an online outlet, for example, because brands did not understand innovation, what it meant, for example, in terms of waste management. And also, if you want to start a recycler, obviously you need millions of euro to start it. And the reality is, when I asked about these numbers, nobody knew. So I really believe that if you want to solve something, you need to start measuring it. Without measuring it, you cannot say I decreased it, because that will be your feeling. And I also really felt that marketplace and recyclers, you have a Dutch saying called dweilen met de kraan open. While I was doing it, brands were asking me, can I just make a different label on top of it? And then my brand will still be sold for high, but you can sell it then for cheap. So what it made me realize was they are trying to trick the system with their waste, and us as consumers, and I will always kind of like try to clean their waste while this waste will keep on coming to me. So I realized that outlets and recyclers are actually not the solution to become circular or more sustainable. It's actually a strategy for waste.
Kind of, with your technical brain, what would you do?
Yeah, what would you?
No, but large, like often happens, right? We try to find like technical solutions to a problem that's not really technical in a lot of aspects, right? That the companies were like, hey, let's just say it's green, whatever, and law doesn't define it, but we'll say it, right? There needs to be a regulation that you cannot do it, which is now coming actually, right? That every claim you have to have a substantiation of. right? That no one really knows exactly how, well, I guess often or sometimes, how the whole supply chain is, or can we like loop it around and reuse this waste in the next process and save some money, right? That's implementation of it is technical, but the problem is that it doesn't make sense to care, right, financially or for other reasons.
Yeah.
So it's not really blockchain or whatever, right? It's first like, okay, let's make sure we care, right, and make people care if they don't want to. And then we can technically, what tools do we need to enable that?
You know, blockchain was called when I was in university also. I do believe that you need to...
Yeah, it's an old bubble.
Yeah. But they called it, for example, I have it, I think, still in these logistics books in the back, but collaborative supply chains. So they were kind of like making this sourcing production in a visual, and then they were drawing these technical stuff on top of it. And they were saying if this was all collaborative, like connected, like the chain of custody, like you also highlighted, then actually we see that the results of a company are much better. This is what we were learning in the supply chain phase. Like after when I did talk with each other in the different areas, and you manage your inventory properly in the different areas, that's when your output will be much better. That's also what I try to say about P&Ls. For example, if the sourcing guy wants to sell more because L'Oreal tells them, I'm going to pay you, you know, a little bit more if you do this and this and this. So they really are being put to the lowest price. That guy's idea is just then buy more and I will give you more discount, and it's a volume deal at some moment. And L'Oreal's like, okay, that means my retail price is going down at that moment. So you can see that the commercial benefits in the supply chain, if they not collectively work with each other, is actually also creating waste, for example. So after we make it a cleaning product, we sell it back to the sourcing guys and they can sell it back to the Hilton. So we are just the middleman that is helping you guys becoming circular. They said, this is not what we want. We just want to sell our shampoo more to them.
Right.
So you are just getting challenges in this environment. If you don't measure it end to end. But yeah, there are just many solutions, but most of them are not benefiting the core idea of solving the problem of waste. And I believe that technology, your skill, what you have, is the ultimate starting point to solve it. Starting point, eh?
Well,
We have not started with poor data across the supply chain.
Well, in my head, it's actually your scale, and I'm here that we together enable that through computers.
Grey market. L'Oreal, for example, creates waste in a grey market because they believe also partially in trading, or they allow it to retailers to do. Then it ends up in Amazon. Then they complain about it, that this is waste created by their partners, and they buy it back and still destroy it. Can you imagine how much CO2 has been wasted in this process at the moment?
Right.
It's a hell. Hey,
4
but
minutes.
So what are we exactly building, and what is the most complex part of that tool at the moment, what we are building?
Yeah, so there is a technical complexity, there is a kind of people complexity. Like what you mentioned, companies as a company, right? There are people, of course, that have opinions, but company as a unit doesn't really care about anything except continuing existing and growing, right? They just want to give you some money and be compliant or whatever. And what we are making, right, is hopefully a solution that on one hand is, from company's perspective, is like that, right? But then it's actually meaningfully changing something through people who will be implementing that, using it, right? so that they can get insights and something actionable to improve the operations of their company in a way that also has effect. Like, let's not produce 800 when we only need 750, right? Let's recycle this into waste, right, into our next batch. Let's also give customers confidence that what we are saying and what we're claiming is actually validated by a model that is reasonable and proven. And model being how much waste you create, how much CO2, what is basically your planet impact, right? And that goes a little bit to regulations that are coming up in EU that maybe you can share about briefly?
Yeah, briefly, of course, from a commercial standpoint, we are building digital product passports. This will help the brands to create transparency end to end in their supply chain. So from raw materials until has my product been used, yes or no? And if I cannot use it, that's a different step to find an end of life partner. But for now, our goal is to create transparency via digital product passports. This is also much better for the European Union because at the moment, the trading companies, which are called retailers like Blokker in the Netherlands, are going bankrupt because they cannot compete with the Temus and the Alibabas of the world. Raw materials are there, we produce it over there, but now we also sell it directly to the consumers. But then the European Union, so it's not fair really, I do agree a little bit on that too, that they only need to start solving the waste in the European Union at the moment after the usage phase or post pre-usage phase. So the benefit for European Union will be protection of the prices by implementing waste and CO2 taxes, and it actually is really better because companies will be forced to operate more local. What we need to be careful is that companies still move away to Asia or whatsoever because they always have tricks to be not sustainable. But it is really important for everybody to understand that the benefit is really planet, people and profit. And the last thing is I was really done with buying products and being lied to. So from a consumer standpoint, if you tell me that something is dermatologically tested, if it's made in Holland, that this is true. And if it's constantly a lie and I'm paying for that lie, then I don't think that that's fair at the moment. So yeah, that's what we are building, and those are the gains actually at the moment for the different areas. Done. I think now it's 12 o'clock. We need to